friends are having a great time. It's not face to face, it's all online. We're all in our homes, miles away. Love them like my family, what can I say? My crafting show is on, it's my time for me. Laughter, tips and tricks, this is what I need. We're here to have fun, we're all in the zone. When crafting with friends, you're never alone. Don't call or text me, it's about to begin. I've been patient, time for me to chime in. Comfy clothes on, feeling just fine. I'm busy right now, it's crafting show time. My crafting show is on, it's my time for me. Laughter, tips and tricks, this is what I need. We're here to have fun, we're all in the zone. When crafting with friends, you're never alone. The host came on, they are truly a gem. Here for the show and to chat with my friends. Chat with each other about this and that. We share ideas, wisdom and other fun facts. My crafting show is on, it's my time for me. Laughter, tips and tricks, this is what I need. We're here to have fun, we're all in the zone. When crafting with friends, you'll never...
Live from the Sunshine State in Miami, Florida, here is the Gifted Crafters Morning Show with Nancy.
Let's have a good time. Ooh, time to get our craft on. Ooh, time to have fun. Ooh, time to feel good.
Good morning, Gifted Crafters, and welcome back to the Gifted Crafters Morning Show. Good morning out there. All righty. Wow, we've got people from a lot of different places here. We've got Marilyn. Good morning to you. Hey, Robin and Flo. I see Becky. Let's see, we've got Tennessee in here. We've got I see my sister from Virginia. Good morning. Good morning. We've got our friends from Canada and we have someone from Australia. Good morning. Awesome. All righty. We've got Missouri dogs fed and pitted and I'm teed. Uh-oh. Someone's having a busy morning. Oh boy. Good morning. And Cindy, thanks for catching that. Mr. H got a little pow there. All righty. Awesome. Awesome. Good morning. We've got San Antonio, Texas. We've got Alabama. Good morning. All righty. Wow. Well, you guys are up early and ready to go and chatting away. Well, hope you had a fantastic day yesterday. It was pretty quiet, but pretty busy. I was really busy at work, so I had a lot going on that end. So didn't have way as much time as I was hoping to have on the craft room side, but we got some stuff done. So we'll share some of that and see where we are now and kind of just go on and take it to the next step. Okay, good morning, good morning. Okay, so just a reminder, on Friday, this Friday, we're going to have our 10,000 subscribers celebration, and we're going to have that this Friday, and we're going to do all kinds of fun things, and I hope you guys can join because we're going to do some giveaways, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're just going to kind of celebrate everything that we've accomplished at 10,000 subscribers, and just share a lot of that with you guys. And we'll have a little virtual birthday cake going on. So if you want to have some cake and celebrate with us, come on in and join the party on Friday. Okay. All righty, awesome. Okay, so good morning to you guys. So let's see, if you haven't already, go ahead and grab your cup because we're ready for our toast in the morning, and we've got our cozy spots all in our place, right? Everybody's in their nice little place. And let me pour you a cup. If you haven't gotten one yet, I'll pour you a cup, and we've got some coffee for you. So go ahead, one lump or two, let me know. I don't know if you're gonna have 1 cup or 2 cups. Is it one of those mornings, or you're gonna have a rough morning? Mine is a little rough, but it's doable. It's not too bad. So let's go ahead and give our toast, and I'm gonna take a little swish myself. Needed that in the morning. Yes. Good morning, Jackie. Good morning. All righty. You're gonna need 2. Yeah. 2 for me too, I guess, huh? Why not? All right, good morning, everyone, and I hope everyone is ready to go. So again, we're gonna have that celebration on Friday. So just a regular time on Friday, it's just gonna be a celebration, and we're gonna do some giveaways and just some fun stuff, just kind of celebrate together. So that'll be a lot of fun. Okay. So what do we have for today? I know you guys have your little snacks that you want to get to. And so we do have our food truck that's going to be coming right along. And oh, I'm sorry, not food truck. We're going to have food cart today. Today's Tuesday. We got to get our exercise in. What was I thinking? Okay, yes, exercise. Get ready, guys. Here comes the food cart. You gotta walk over to the food cart, guys. Get the little exercise in. Give yourself a nice little stretch, because we've got all kinds of snacks on there. Coffee, tea, donuts, muffins, cookies, all the goodies that you want are in the snack, but you gotta get up and stretch for it. So more coffee for you. Oh boy, Jenny needs a lot of coffee. Okay, lots and lots of coffee for you. Baker McFake, I don't know what you're gonna have today. But we've got all kinds of stuff and goodies in there for you. You're on your 2nd cup, Flo. Yeah, it's I guess it's one of those days. Yeah. Well, mine's it's okay so far. So we'll see how it goes. I just may have to kind of do some double duty later on and get some even more afternoon coffee. I know I like to have afternoon coffee too. I don't know if you guys do, but kind of picks me up in the middle of the afternoon and gets me going back up again. Oh, yummy stretch to the brownies. Yum. All righty. Oh, Quilting with Harriet is in New York this week. Awesome. Quilting with Harriet. I hope you have a fantastic time. Gosh, so much to do in New York. There's so many places. You can check out some quilt shops while you're there too. You can find just a few places, or if you're interested in more of a fabric for like clothing and things like that, they've got tons of those. So you'll find really good deals out there. All righty. So there's also a fashion district, Harriet, if you check that out. It's in the Manhattan area, but just Google it, you'll see it. Okay, so let's get to it, shall we? Because we've got a few things to cover. So if you are tuning in for the first time, my name is Nancy with GiftsHQ, and in these daily sessions for this week, we are working on a Riley Blake design. This is called Autumn Skies Runner, and this is what the pattern looks like. You can see a little peek of it there. They give you a little box that comes with it. And so this box has kind of the little design of the pattern itself, but there it is. And you can see it with the borders. Now this finishes at 28 by 42 inches. So it's a decent size. It's not too huge, right? But they've got some really nice little design there. And you're using the stitch and flip method to do this design. And so we talked about yesterday, I did a similar design with paper piecing. It's a quilt with paper piecing. So I want to compare and contrast the way this specific star was done with the paper piecing method versus doing it with the piecing method on this design. And we're going to kind of compare that and kind of see what's different, if it's easier or harder, you know, and kind of look at all of those things. So I thought that'd be a lot of fun. And we're going to do the quilt together. So it's going to be great. All righty. Oh, you're sitting with your 99-year-old mother-in-law this week. Oh, she used to live in Long Island. Awesome, Harriet. That's awesome. Wonderful. Okay, so if you guys are going to be doing this quilt along with me, let me know in the chat. We also have this linked in our video description below. Now, this is the quilt kit was purchased through Fat Quarter Shop. So if you're interested in getting that, that is the link that it'll take you to the Fat Quarter Shop where you can purchase this. And I think it's a really nice little autumn way to kind of step into the autumn season and just kind of start that off. So we're a little early, but that's okay. It's all good. Okay. So what we're going to be doing today, I was able to go ahead and starch all of my fabrics. So everything here is nice and starched, so it's a little stiff, as you can see. So we've got that stiffness on here going on. And I did all of them. I also, and I know a lot of people don't, but I wanted to just do it just to see what the difference was. I went ahead and I starched my charm pack. Normally you don't starch a charm pack, but I wanted to starch it just to get that little bit of a crisp feel to it and then see, if it really makes a difference or not. So I went ahead and did that, and I didn't do any of the cutting. I just did the starching and the ironing, so everything is really nice and crisp and ready to go. And so the pieces, I do feel the difference in the charm pack. So I do feel the stiffness on here. So I don't know. We'll see how it happens here. So this is all ready to go. I labeled out what I need to cut in terms of the charm pack. And then there's some cutting that we need to do for this regular fabric that we have here on the side. So we're going to be doing some cutting, but I'm going to be cutting the first set, and I'll just do a few with you. And I'm going to be using a Stripology ruler here. And we're going to kind of go through that a little bit. So we'll get to all of that. But first, let's go over to our crafting news, because I got a couple stories that I want to tell you about. So let's head on over to that. Okay, let's see what we have here. So if you are in the Washington area, you can mark your calendars because we have a 2-day celebration of quilts. On August the 8th and August the 9th, the North Central Washington Quilt Guild is hosting a big quilt and a fiber arts show at the Town Toyota Center, and the admission is free. Yay! They are going to have 300 handmade creations that includes designs from the talented Jan Davies. And she's known for stunning embellishments and original quilt patterns. And you're going to enjoy some live demos. They're going to have an artisan market, some fabric vendors. They're going to have a silent auction, and they're going to have a special traveling exhibit that's called the Cherry Wood Poppy Challenge, with some work from artists from all across the country. So I think that's pretty cool. They're going to have something really beautiful. They're going to have 40 quilts that they're going to be raffling off. And with every dollar that they get from the raffle, it's going to go to the Women's Resource Center. But they're also going to raffle a gorgeous 92 by 100 inch quilt that was pieced together by 24 local quilters. So that's pretty cool. So many people got together and were able to do this together. So now the Guild isn't just about quilts, it's all about community. And every year their members donate hundreds of these quilts and baby blankets and pillowcases to those in need. So I thought that was pretty cool. You can get more information at ncwquilt.org. But make sure to save the date. It's August the 8th and August the 9th at 9 a.m. is when it starts. So lots of fun going on over there. Now we're going to come over to a little closer to my home here in Pensacola, Florida. And we're going to talk about a 15-year-old girl by the name of Angela Walls. And she used her love to crochet to do something really beautiful. She's raising awareness about mental health. And it's especially among those young people who are kind of hurting in silence. Now, she learned to crochet in the 7th grade when 2 sisters moved in next door. And it started off as just a fun little summer hobby, and then it became something a little bit deeper. One of the girls had started crocheting to cover up the scars that she had from self-harm, which is kind of sad. And while Angela didn't know how to help her back then, she never forgot them. So years later, Angela crochets in their memory and tells their story wherever she goes, not to sell herself, but to spread the hope, the healing, and awareness. And she shares with her parents how important it is to talk to your kids and not dismiss their pain just because they're too young. And that's so, so important, guys. So important for you to talk to your kids. Angela calls her faith and her craft is able to make a difference. And she's just 15 years old, guys. So she's already changing lives. And she's proof that, you know, you've got kindness, courage, and creativity that can go really hand in hand. So I thought that was a really beautiful story and kind of touching. It's really important to talk to the kids out there. So those are my 2 little crafting news stories for you. So I'm going to put this over to the side. And let me just grab my notes in case I miss anything here. Okay, I think we're ready to kind of jump into our project now. So let's see here. We've got, I told you I'm going to be using the Stripology squared mini ruler. And yes, I do have painter's tape up on the top. And I use painter's tape to kind of mark off this a little bit. It kind of just helps me because sometimes you kind of lose your way a little bit and you may unfortunately cut on the wrong slit. And since this is a fabric kit, you have just enough fabric to get the job done. So I don't want to do too many mistakes in here. So I like to kind of use painter's tape to kind of guide my way. So these are 5-inch square charms, and I'm going to show you the ruler right here. Let's see, hopefully there's not too much of a glare. Okay, it's not. So you can see here's the 5-inch mark on the ruler, and so I bring it across, and this is 5 inches as well. So I just bring my painter's tape up until the line right here, just so that I can mark it off, and this will just clearly indicate to me where the 5-inch mark is. So I know this is where the cutting will be. And then when I cut, if I go up and into the tape, that's okay. It's just, you know, it's just a little bit that I'll be passing it. So I'm fine with that. But this really helps me to kind of see where I'm at all times visually, because sometimes you can really lose your place if you don't mark it. You can make marks down here on the bottom as well. I've done it a few times myself. And matter of fact, let me just grab a little bit more of painter's tape, and I'm just gonna show you guys what I do. So just taking a little bit of painter's tape, I know I'm gonna be at the 5-inch mark right here, and I'm gonna be cutting 2 inches. So I'll just count back 1, 2, and then I will put it here. So I know that my, whoops, here we go. I know that my my rotary cutter is just basically going to go through this slit here and this slit here, you know. So I may move it up. Maybe I want to start, if I go here at the 0, I'm going to start this way. So depending how you're going to line it up, if you want to start on this end, you can. If you want to start on this end, you can. But you have to decide which end you're going to be doing. And then you just kind of lay it down. So if I start at my 0 point, which most likely I'm going to do, then I'll put my painter's tape down to the slot that I know I'm going to be cutting in. So if you're doing multiple cuts, like this one is a total of 60 little squares that I'm going to need. So I'm going to do a lot of multiples of these. So sometimes, you know, you can just take your eyes off for a second and you can kind of lose your place and go down the wrong slit. So it's nice that you can just kind of take some painter's tape. It doesn't do anything to the ruler because you can see, you can put it down, take it off. There's no residue or anything like that that it will leave on your ruler, because, you know, these rulers are expensive. So you want to make sure that, you know, they don't get damaged or anything. So I just do that and I put it on my ruler, and then that helps me to guide me visually where I'm at, just in case I look away or lose my place. I can easily kind of visually get that back pretty quickly. So that's things that you can do to kind of mark up your ruler with painter's tape, just to kind of guide you along the way. Some people go a little overboard and they kind of cover up all the slits that they don't need. And I guess that's one way to do it, but I don't think you have to cover the whole thing, as long as you have some type of visual that'll help you to define where it is you need to be focused on the ruler. So that's just one way of doing it. Okay, so let's move this over to the side here. And I'm going to start off with just a couple of fabrics. Now, one of the things that I did, and I think that they really they did a nice job in laying some stuff out. And I won't show you guys all of the pattern pieces. Well, it's too far away anyway, but I just want you to be able to see here the colors. And let's bring it over so you can see that a little bit. So the way they lay out this on the pattern is they have colors that they laid out here. And so they do that, and it's a nice, because it gives you a little bit of a visual in terms of the instructions. So sometimes, you know, the patterns won't have that. And so you're not sure exactly what fabric they're talking about. Like, is it this one? Is it that one? And you have to kind of figure out which one is the right one that's going to go to any specific cut. So one thing that they did that's really nice is they not only identified it here as a 5-inch square, right? So you know that's your charm pack, but they laid out a couple here. And so I copied that and laid mine out exactly the same. And then I kind of repeated similar color patterns for the rest of that particular cut. So I like that because it kind of helped a lot, but I think that's why it's really important that you read through the pattern. And I like to spend that extra day to just kind of go through it with you guys, to really just go through the pattern, read it completely before you start cutting and doing things. Because sometimes you'll think it's one way when you first glance at it and start looking at the instructions, but then as you read through the rest of the pattern, you realize, oh, wait a minute, that's not this fabric, it's the other fabric. You're going to want to make it look this way and not that way. And so you'll change things around. So it's really important to read through the whole thing just to make sure that, you know, you're doing and you're using the fabrics that you want, so you can showcase the colors the way you want to do them. Right? So make sure that you read through patterns first. Don't just jump right into the projects. Okay, let's read the patterns. Okay, so now that we've gotten all our instructions throughout the way here, I also have my fabrics that I starched and I've labeled them. So I'm just going to grab one here. And the instructions want me to just kind of cut this into 2-inch squares, and I need to do 4 of them out of every charm square. And so that's why I want to use my Stripology ruler. And I'm also using a little rotating mat, and you don't need a rotating mat. If you have another little small mat, you can just put a mat on top of a mat, and that works as well. Or, you know, if you don't have one, don't worry about it. You don't really need it. You just have to be able to carefully lift up your ruler and then move it in the other direction and put it back down. So just be very careful in not moving fabric around when you do that. So, all right, so we're going to start off with this. And I already know that because I starched it, I can see it a little bit warped on one side, which is kind of funny. Like it's not 100% straight. I see it kind of leaning towards this end of the fabric. I don't know if you guys can see how this little tip is coming off a little bit. It's not exactly square there. And part of it could be because of the starching, and that's okay, but we're just cutting these into 2-inch squares, so I'm not too worried about it. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this down. And I'm going to be looking at my 0 line on the ruler. Let me just show you over here. So we're starting off on the 0 line, going vertically and horizontally. So this is our starting point right here where my finger is. So we've got the 0 here and the 0 here. And from here to here is the 5 inches. And going across here to here is the 5 inches. So this is our starting point, not over here where this dotted line is, and not at the edge of the ruler. It's going to be right here in between the two on this first slot. Okay, so that is your starting point. So I'm going to lay this down here. And I'm going to put that little warped side that I saw, I'm going to put it over on this side because I really want to line up on the 0 mark. So I will lay my ruler down and I will try to get the bottom line flush against this line going across. And then this line right here is going to be flush against my fabric. Now I can already see, because it was warped a little bit, it's already off right here. So I'm going to bring my ruler in and a little bit up, and you can see here, I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me see if I can bring it over on this end. And you can see right here, I'll kind of point it out with this pencil here. You can see how much of a gap I have here. There's about maybe 1/8 to 1/4 inch here. It's quite a gap here, because it is way off. These charm packs are not 100%, so I will have to accommodate for that and kind of adjust and move a little bit further. So you can see now I'm pretty much flush. I'm not right on top of it, so I can't see 100%, but I'm pretty much flush against the line right here. But you can see up on the top here, all this extra fabric needs to be cut off. So these charm squares are not, you know, cut exact, but the starching also could have done it. And then over on this side, I'm off just slightly. So I'm going to raise my ruler just a bit. So I'm just concerned that this is all covered here. This outer part will be trimmed out when I go through this slot right here with my rotary blade. It's going to trim this off completely. And then when I rotate it, I'll be trimming the other side. So that's where you can see that even though they're charm packs, they may not be cut to exactly to size. And also because I starched it, it warps it just a little bit here. So you do have to be a little careful. Okay, so you do see here, even if I move this slightly and try to kind of go with it, there's still just a little bit here to be cut off. But you also are looking at this line here. So going across this way, making sure that it's covered under the 5 inches completely, right? Everything under your ruler, under that 5-inch square is where there should be fabric. You shouldn't have any holes, and you still see a little bit right here as well. but I know I'm only cutting 2-inch squares, so a lot of this is going to be just waste here, so I won't have to worry. But as long as I'm covered from where my 0 point is, 2 inches, and then 2 inches more, the rest is going to be waste. You'll have about an inch of waste on this charm square. Okay, so let's bring this back over and grab my rotary blade. And let me line this up as best I can here. And let's see. There we go. Yeah, it is pretty warped here. Let's see if I start it on this end here, if it gets any better. Because I prefer it to not be to size out on the end, because that's not going to be used anyway. But wow, you could really see how it's off. Okay. All right, I think we're good here. So I've got my 2-inch mark here. This is where I'm going to be cutting. You guys see that? Let me move this up a little bit more. This is my 2-inch mark. And then I'm going to need another 2 inches. So I'm going to count 1, 2, and put another piece of painter's tape right here, which is where I'm going to be cutting as well. And I don't need it to really stick 100%. I just need it to mark. These are the 2 cuts. So I'm going to cut at the 0 mark always. That so that I can trim my edges to make them clean. And then I'm going to cut on my 2-inch, and then I'm going to cut on my 4-inch line, which will give me another 2-inch square. And we'll be left with about an inch out here. So as long as my square inside here, up through this 4-inch, is covered with fabric, I am good to go. Because the rest will be just trimmed off. So if you want to bump it up a little bit more, you can, because you have an inch that you're not going to be using on either side. So that will help. Okay, so we've got that in place. I'm going to take my rotary cutter and I'm just going to put it inside the 0, and I'm going to go ahead and run it through. Then I'm going to take it on my 2-inch mark, do the same thing. You want to kind of jiggle it in to that first slot until you feel that it's gone inside, and then you want to grab the next one, jiggle it in, and then just bring that across. Now we've made the cuts going this way, but we still have to make the cuts going the other way. But we have to lift up the ruler and rotate this. So that's why I think a rotating mat would be good, but if you don't have it, that's fine. I've done it without it myself. So you just lift it up here, rotate it. Now that little slit that you took off in the 0 mark, you can pull it off. That's just that tiny little piece that it kind of took off there. So you can take that off, and then now you're just rotating. So we're going to line this up. And now that we have that nice clean edge, I can line up my bottom with that clean edge here. Making sure that I don't disturb any of the rest of the fabric here. We want to keep that nice and steady. If you do move it by accident, you can also just, since it's already cut one way, you can separate it and just cut it separately. If you feel like it's not, like it's moved too much and you're not going to be able to get a good cut from the Stripology ruler, then just separate them and just cut it another 2-inch separately. But we're going to go ahead and do another cut at the 0 mark so we can clean up this edge, because we've already cleaned up our bottom edge and it's lined up against the ruler. And I already see everything on this side is past the 0 mark, so I'm good here. This will trim this side up, and all the fabric on the inside is covered here, and that's all I really care about. So the rest is off a little bit, but it's not going to matter because that's just going to be scraps. So now I'm going to go into the 0 slot, And I'm going to go ahead and cut that. And then I'm going to go into the 2-inch one, do my cut there, and then on the 4-inch one and do my cut there. And then you're just going to lift up your ruler, and we're going to just separate the pieces. Let's just move them this way. And so you see here all the extra pieces that we have. So let me bring this over to the desk cam. And you can see all the pieces that we've cut off. So here is the piece that we kind of trimmed off in the beginning, right? We've got our 2-inch squares right here. These are the 4 pieces that we really need. And then everything else on this mat is just scrap. So that's why I wasn't too worried that the fabric wasn't exactly 5 inches and it was a little bit warped, because I knew I was going to have all of this scrap here at the end. So none of this is going to count. I still end up with my perfect 2-inch squares that I'm going to need for these. And I'm going to need a whole bunch of these. So I'm going to keep cutting them along here. Now, if you want to do assembly style, if you're doing assembly style, what you can do is just line up your charm packs and just do the first cut with all the slots going one way, and then just take it off, and then bring them all back and then cut them all going the other way. So you can do it that way too, if that's, you know, makes it a little bit quicker for you. You can do it that way. I prefer just to kind of do them one by one and just kind of rotating the mat and finishing them off. Just because, you know, sometimes I get interrupted, and I like to know what I've finished and know where I'm at, because sometimes, you know, you can forget where you are on certain things. Oh, 100 Proof Quilter, you have the XL Stripology. Need this mini in my life. Yeah, I don't have the XL. I ended up getting the mini one because I liked the size was more compact. The XL is a lot bigger, although for some of the projects that one does work better too, right? But I do like the mini one. I like the size of it. It's compact, and it has the whole inch size on one side of the ruler. And I'll bring this over again here. So you've got the whole inch size, and then in between it has the 1/2 inch marks for you here. And then when you flip over to the other side, it's got like 4 1/4, 4 3/4, 5 1/4, 5 3/4. So it's got those kind of other sizes that you sometimes use, like the 1/4 inch and the 3/4 of an inch, right? So you could use this side when you have that your pattern calls for, and then when you flip it over, you have your regular whole inch sizes and 1/2 inches on this side. So I thought that's pretty cool. And then they do the same thing on the other side, where you have your whole inch numbers here, and then the white lines in between are your 1/2 inch marks. And then if you flip it over, it does the same thing here. It's just at the half, 2 1/2 inch, 3 1/2 inch, you know, so that makes it a little bit easier for you to kind of maneuver around with the ruler. So I like how this is kind of labeled out. It really helps to make a little difference here. So that's how I use this ruler to make these cuts. And you can save these tiny little scraps if you like to make something with it. You know, you can definitely do something with this that might, you know, little scrappy thing, or you can save it for some applique. Sometimes you have those little tiny pieces and you need a certain color and you can't find it, but you have, you know, it's such a small piece that you need, and you don't want to have to cut something out of your bulk to do that. But sometimes it's good to kind of save. So I may just throw it in my little scrap bag. You never know. And you can do one of those really scrappy little quilts on the end. And then you've got the little tiny pieces, and those I'm just going to get rid of. So, okay. So that's the first cut using this ruler. Now, this pattern is going to have several other different cuts. Like I said, it's using the stitch and flip method. And I am going to be using, I won't do it today because we're not at that step yet, but I am going to be using the Creative Grids non-slip folded corner clipper ruler. And one of you guys recommended for me to get this ruler. So I can't remember offhand who it was that told me that, but gosh, I can't remember now. It's the name is leaving my head, but you guys recommended it. I went ahead and got it, and the method stitch and flip requires you to draw that line and then sew on the line and flip the fabric over and then cut off the excess. Where this ruler, it allows you to do the cut without drawing the line, which is pretty cool. I've already seen the videos on it. I've got to practice a little bit more on it on some of my scrap fabric, but I think it's a pretty cool tool to have. And we're going to use this when we get to that step. And we're not quite there yet. We've got a couple more things to cut on here, but this is another great little tool to have in your craft room. I think it makes a difference. If you're one that, you know, maybe you don't, the diagonal line doesn't come out, you know, straight point, you know, from point to point, and it doesn't come out great every single time, or this is really designed to help you eliminate having to draw that line and then just use the ruler for that. It was you, Celia? Okay, I wasn't 100% sure. Yes, it was Celia who told me about this, and thank you, Celia. I appreciate that. Yes. And I think this really does make a difference. I don't mind drawing the line, and I have a little ruler to help me to do that. But if I can eliminate one possibility of me making a mistake, that will just help me to bring the quilt itself a little bit more accurate, right? Because you can always draw a line that's incorrect, but if you don't have to draw a line to begin with and you just use this ruler, that helps you to be just that much more accurate, right? So it eliminates that little step. So we're going to be using this ruler for that step, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun here. Like I said, they have little videos on here. They've got little QR codes that leads you to the little video that shows you how to use the ruler. And it's not just for that stitch and flip method. You can also use this for many other things, like for binding and things like that. And it does show it on here. They've got like a little tiny little instruction thing here. And it shows you some ways on how you can use it for flying geese, half square triangles, and things like that. And it has really great instructions for that. And then the little video that it comes with, when you scan that QR code, it'll take you to the video and it'll show you how to apply those methods with the ruler. So that's pretty cool. And then here's the back here that shows how to use the cut half square triangle, how to prepare the binding if you're doing some binding. So pretty neat that the ruler does, you know, quite a few things. It's not just doing like stitch and flip method. Although, you know, after seeing the video, I think that it's going to come out pretty cool. So we'll see how it goes. We'll give it a try, and it's going to be a lot of fun because it wasn't as expensive as I thought. So it's pretty neat. And I think this is going to be a great way for me to kind of not make any mistakes on that area. So let's see how it works on that. So that's what we're doing for this quilt. And I'm just going to continue cutting here on the first fabric and cutting out those 2-inch squares. So let's just do another one here and line this up here. So we've got our fabric here. Let's see how warped this one is. Kind of the same thing. I see a little stretch on this end here and also on this side here. And it's not even reaching that 5-inch mark here. It's got a big gap in between here. I'll bring it over so you guys could see that. You guys can see this really big gap right there. Yeah, that's a pretty big gap right there. And you can see over here on the top how it's warped on this side, but it's lined up on the bottom. And the same over here on the top. So yeah, you have to be pretty careful with that. See that? So they're not always 100%. I never heard of that ruler. Wonder how accurate it is. And that, yeah, it's, you know, Celia, let us know. I think she's used it a few times. She's the one that let us know about that one. And, you know, just the thought of me, you know, because there's a few times I would draw the line and I'm not exactly at that point, right? Like maybe my ruler shifted a little bit and I wasn't watching, or I angled my rotary blade. Instead of cutting straight, I cut at an angle a little bit, you know, so yeah. As long as your machine does an accurate 1/4 inch seam, it's right on. Awesome. Thank you, Barbara. Yeah, so this is going to be interesting to use this because, you know, I've used, it's funny because I've done the paper piecing method that'll get me that woven star. I've done the method with drawing the line on from corner to corner, right? Doing the stitch and flip method. And then now we're going to be using the folded corner clipper ruler. And, you know, so we've done all 3 methods. So let's see how this one kind of pans out when we get to that step. So this will be pretty cool. I like that it has this little, it does accommodate up on the top, the little 1/4 inch. I don't know if you guys see that. It's got that little 1/4 inch right on the top, that blunt side. So that's what really makes this really nice. You can see it on the other side too. So and it also has those grippy things. So it keeps it nice and in place. So it helps from slipping around a little bit there. So I think it's a really nice ruler. It's designed really well. It's got the 1 1/2 inch markings on the side up to 5 inches. They probably sell a larger size. I'm not sure about it, but I'm pretty sure they probably do. But this one will work for me. Celia says, I use the folded corner clipper always, and it's 100% accurate, guaranteed. Awesome. Yay. So that's going to be a lot of fun to do this. So thank you again, Celia. I really appreciate that. That was a lot of fun. All right, so let's get to cutting this here because we're doing a lot of yapping and not so much cutting here. So let me try to line this up as best I can here. I'm going to move this just slightly, and then I'm going to grab my rotary cutter, wiggle it into that 0 slot and do the cut. Then of course my painter's tape is right there, so it's telling me to do that second cut, and the third cut is where that painter's tape is again, wiggling that in and doing that cut. Then I'm just going to slowly lift this and I'm going to rotate it and then just line it up again. Now I can take that piece that I did take off right there. I'll take that out. So it's just a tiny, tiny piece. And I'm going to make sure that my bottom part of the ruler is now completely lined up all the way across, because this part we already cut. So we know this part is nice and flush there. And now I'm just looking on the other side here. And I'll again start at my 0 mark, wiggle that in, do the cut, and then go to my 2-inch mark, make that cut, and then the 4-inch mark again, making that cut. Now I can lift it and I can pull all the pieces away, and you've got your nice little 2-inch squares here. Perfect. And we've got all this excess, of course, so we'll add that to the pile. And then these are the little scrappy pieces that you ended up, that you trimmed off, which not too bad. It's not like a ton that you're taking off. So, you know, I think it's going to work just fine. So we'll do one more here. Let's see. Grab another one here. And this is where it just becomes repetitive. Now you get into your flow and you start doing the same steps over and over. So it helps you to be a little bit more accurate because you're just repeating the same steps. And as long as you are looking to make sure that on that 0 mark, you have everything going up this way and then going across this way is full of the fabric. There's no gaps in between here. We don't care so much for this very last one because we know that's going to be the excess, right? So we're just going to go ahead and use our rotary cutter, wiggle it into the slot, and I'm going to move this just a tad over. Wiggle it into the slot right here, make that cut, then onto the 2-inch mark, wiggling that in, make that cut, and then the 4-inch mark, wiggling it in. There you go. Now I'm also using the 60-inch rotary blade. Okay, I'm using the 60-inch because it just makes it a lot easier to get into the slot and moving. You can use the 45 as well, but I just like to use the 60 so I know it's going to get into that slot and I have plenty of space. So that's that. Now we're going to rotate this here. And let's see, can we take that piece off? There we go. Another little piece there. And then just line it up again. Right across that bottom. Try not to shift your fabrics. Just kind of checking. There we go. And then again, on the 0 mark, trim out anything that may need to be trimmed. The 2-inch mark and the 4-inch mark. And make sure you're putting that downward pressure when you are cutting. And there we go. We've got our 2-inch squares here, all ready to go. Okay. And of course our excess. You never know. Especially when you're working on these kits, I don't throw anything away until I'm completely done with the project. Because you never know, mistakes happen, and you may have to kind of, maybe if you cut something incorrectly and you don't have enough to kind of fix it, you can always use these fabric scraps to kind of sew 2 pieces together to kind of make up for that, and then you'll have the piece that you need. So you always want to just hold on to those until the project is completely done. So make sure that you do that as well. Okay, we have time for one more, and then we're going to go over to our inspirational quote. So let me just grab one here, line it up on the 0 mark, making sure that you're on that 0 mark. Okay. Move this over just slightly. Give myself a little bit more. There we go. Okay. And then lift and turn. Let's see if I can, whoop, there we go. Grab that piece off. Line this up again. And there we are. That's a huge gap on that end. Okay. Moving all the pieces to the side, and here we go. Nice cut, nice and clean, and all lined up. If I kind of bump them up all together, you don't see anything sticking out. Everything is cut nice and clean. Okay. So this will be a nice addition if I put all these together. You shouldn't see anything sticking out. And so it looks nice and clean on all the sides here. So we got a nice clean cut on that. Alrighty, so that's what I'm going to just continue to do here. And I've got to make quite a few of these. So I will be continuing to do these cuts. And then hopefully tomorrow, I'll do some of the other cutting on the other fabrics based on the pattern instructions. And for these larger pieces, I will not be able to use my stripology ruler because it's going to be way too small for the fabrics that I'm cutting. So I'll just use my regular ruler for those. But for all of the charm pack ones, I'm going to be using my stripology ruler for those because those are the smaller cuts. So then once I have all of that gathered together, then I'll be working on the next step, which will be our stitch and flip. So we'll be sewing those up tomorrow. So let's head on over to our inspirational quote of the day. Okay, for today's quote of the day, we have, sewing reveals that precision can be beautiful and persistence can be healing. So we definitely want to get that precision, and our persistence of getting that precision is what we're trying to do by using the tools that we can use to help us get there, and being a little more accurate and paying a little bit more attention and having a little more patience in every step that you do. So just try to be patient. If you don't have the tools, that's okay. We started with just, you know, any little tool, but just being persistent and trying to be accurate as much as you can. Just go ahead and, you know, work it through that way. Okay, so one thing to note, we did start some live shopping that you can get, and some of the links below. We're starting to kind of ramp things up so we can do some live shopping with you guys, and you may be able to see some of that in the links when you click on them. It's kind of a new feature that YouTube kind of is helping us to do. So we've had several meetings with them, and that's one of the features that's new for us from YouTube, and we're kind of experimenting with that. So if you guys want to support the channel, you're interested in buying some stuff, just go ahead and click on the links. All right, well, it is time for Becky from Power Tools with Thread. So let's head over to her channel and show her our love and support. Thank you guys all for tuning in today. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope to be crafting with you soon. Bye, everyone.
So long for now, so long. Glad you stayed a while. Hope you liked my crafting style. Hope I left you with a smile. By now, keep your mind and space clutter free. Hope your day is bright as can be. So long, my friends, till we craft once again. By now, stay crafting. See you tomorrow. So long, my friends, till we craft once again.